This week, the Chief of Defense Forces, General MUHOOZI, snubbed summons to appear before a parliamentary committee on defense and internal affairs, where he was required to clarify on matters of defense and national security. Later, the CDF is purported to have posted statements on social media, which seem to demean Parliament when he threatened to instead arrest members of the parliamentary committee. While these statements were disowned by his close associates, the general's continued refusal to appear before the parliamentary committee has sparked debate on the sanctity of Parliament, but also the powers of the parliamentary committees.
This is a committee on defense and internal affairs that constitutionally and by rules of procedure superintends over Ministry of Defense. While you laid apology for your colleague, Honorable Huda, members requested for the whereabouts of the CDF, because the CDF himself should be part of this delegation.
A standoff ensued as some members insist they want the CDF to appear before the parliamentary committee, while also there has been an effort to resolve the matter quietly to avoid escalation.
It is the view of the committee that we send you back to the ministry headquarters. You appear before this committee on Monday at 9. We expect that you'll be fully constituted with the Chief of Defense Forces.
The General has been adamant and unapologetic. Can the committee push harder, or it will soon back down? And of what implication is this standoff to the independence of Parliament and the rule of law in Uganda? This is the Limelight. Well, good evening and welcome to the program. This is the Limelight and my name is Prince Apollo. Now, I will directly connect with Honorable Professor Ogenga Latigo. And Professor Ogenga Latigo is a politician, but also he served as the legislator representing the people of Agago North in Parliament. During that time, he also served as the leader of opposition between 2006 to 2010. Happy to have you on the show this evening, Professor. But let's quickly hear from your experience. What could be the implications of this standoff between the CDF and the Committee of Parliament?
Oh, thank you very much, Prince Apollo, and good evening, viewers of Salt TV. In the first place, what has happened is very sad for some of us who know that the NRM government came into power after starting a guerrilla war against the Obote regime on account of rigging of elections. Having been in power for 39 years, it saddens some of us, and it portends a very negative situation in Uganda, that the CDF, General MUHOOZI, who is the son of the president, is summoned to appear before Parliament, and he refuses, not even quietly, he refuses very arrogantly. First of all, let it be very clear. The Constitution provides that the UPDF is a military body which is subordinate to civilian authority. And that civilian authority is represented by Parliament, because it is Parliament that legislates the laws that we apply in our country. It is Parliament that oversees the activities of the other two arms of government, the executive and the judiciary. And it is Parliament that appropriates money that the country runs on. Secondly, Parliament has the mandate to inquire. The only person that Parliament actually cannot call to appear before it is the President of Uganda. Because as head of the executive, he has a neutrality and a shield that allows him to exercise his office in a manner that best serves the purpose for which the president is in office. But it doesn't apply to anybody else. And in the hierarchy of Uganda, the Chief of Defense Forces is a very low-ranking person. And so that he refuses to appear before Parliament, if it was my time, and by the way, I served as leader of opposition when I was MP for Agago County. Agago North had not existed. What Parliament should do is very simple. If he refuses, you give him a second chance. If he refuses, you just take your report to Parliament. And Parliament will move a motion of censure against the CDF. And that motion, when passed, must be implemented. Just like when ministers are censored, the president must act on them. Secondly, it is very sad because we are just entering an electoral period. If an individual in the form of the CDF can defy Parliament, he has already talked about demonstrating against NOP. What will happen when election time, campaign times come, and the CDF runs amok? What will happen? There will be violence, there will be chaos in the elections, and we will descend even below what President Museveni and the NRM got in '96. Because now people...
Honorable Genga Latigo, we are all aware that the CDF sent the Minister for Defense. He also delegated his deputy to the Committee of Parliament. What's wrong with that?
It is very absurd because the CDF serves under the Minister of Defense. He cannot send the Minister of Defense. I don't know who that Minister of Defense is. He would have told the CDF, I am the Minister of Defense. The army is under my political charge. You cannot send me. It is as simple as that.
Well, from your experience, looking at how these events evolved leading to this standoff, do you think it was necessary to insist, for the committee to insist that they want the CDF to physically appear before the committee?
You see, the issues that arose were done by the CDF. Nobody can come and explain his actions on his behalf. Just like if you were taken to court, no matter how big you were, you cannot send somebody and say, I'm busy in office, I've sent somebody to explain, because the accused is the CDF for his actions as a person, but holding the office of CDF of the Uganda Armed Forces. And therefore, it is very wrong for anybody even to suggest that the CDF can send anybody else, leave alone the Minister of Defense. Actually, it is insulting that he even sent the Minister of Defense. And it is very belittling for that Minister of Defense to accept to go and speak on behalf of the CDF, because it was an individual action and for which Parliament wants him to account. And it is as simple as that.
Professor, we are all aware, me and you are aware, that the issues for which the committee were summoning the CDF are related to the comments he usually posts on his personal X handle. And and here we have a committee before Parliament. I mean, the delegation from the office, the ministry, the Defense Ministry, coming to scrutinize their the budget framework paper for this year, for the year. I mean, these are different issues. Others are saying possibly the MPs on the Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs wouldn't have, I mean, summoned the CDF because the issue was not the posts he sends on his X handle. It was about the budget framework paper.
No, the Committee of Parliament and the Defense Committee has a broad mandate. And as long as they are exercising that mandate, they have committed no failure on their part. If it is their mandate to oversee the work of the Ministry of Defense and the conduct of people who hold offices under the Ministry of Defense, whether in the Army, whether in the Air Force, or in the Navy, or any of those units. The worst danger that we can do to our democracy is to make the military above accountability. And by the action of the CDF, he is in effect saying that I am a soldier and I'm not accountable to Parliament. In which case, let us then declare military rule and stop pretending that Uganda is a democracy where leaders are elected through formal elections and voting, and where, when they assume mandate, their mandate is enshrined by the Constitution of Uganda and the laws of this country. And for Parliament, beyond and below the Constitution and the laws that govern Parliament, there are rules of procedures of Parliament. The last Parliament, I was a member of the Rules Committee for 5 years. So I know quite a bit, in fact a lot, about the rules that are provided under the rules of procedures of Parliament. It is their mandate. I urge General MUHOOZI to give respect to the fact that his father fought for democracy, and that his father's legacy can be destroyed by what he is doing, and that Uganda we no longer want to go back to the past of violence, impunity, and chaos. So the smart thing to do is, if he wanted to extricate himself, he could have sent an apology, written apology, and said, I am sorry. I made a mistake. For the sake of the image of the military, let me, for the sake of the military, let me stop here. And please.
Well, we lost the professor, but we hope he will return and conclude on this matter. And we're asking him about the standoff between the Chief of Defense Forces and the Committee of Parliament on Defense and Internal Affairs, having had this confrontation for almost now 1.5 weeks. We would want to know how best this issue can be resolved. Of course, protecting the sanctity of Parliament, but also creating harmony between the institutions of government, with Parliament on one side and, of course, the executive, where the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs falls, of course, keeping that harmony between those two institutions. Of course, what I wanted to tell him is that we are aware that there have been measures to handle this issue quietly, and between the heads of the heads of Parliament and the officials from the Ministry of Defense. But of course, this is not an issue we can push under the rug and move on. We have seen incidents where the image of and the independence of Parliament has been in one way or another been compromised or tarnished. But here we have the professor again. Professor, I wanted to ask you. Well, we are aware that there have been negotiations and meetings going on quietly to handle this issue. How best do you think this issue can be handled now at this level?
You know, you see, the last thing that I would want to suggest is that Parliament accepts to accommodate impunity. Because once you accommodate one impunity, you have created impunity for everybody else. It is wrong, because if he was right, if General MUHOOZI believed he was right, he should have the courage to go before Parliament and explain to Parliament why he posted the things he posted. But if he knows that he was in breach, and it is just amazing that we are even discussing this, because he's a military person. The military should never be involved in uttering non-military statements, in engaging in what is political. I don't know why President Museveni thinks MUHOOZI can be an exception, but once you make an exception, there's no rule. And it is even sad that in the process you criticize those who are in the political path and express their views bluntly. You blame them, and at the same time you allow somebody who should not speak political matters because he holds the office of the military. I mean, what does that mean? Does it mean that if I'm going to Agago, the military can stop me and whip me on the way? Is that what it means? So why allow this to happen? And why allow it to happen after you have served this country for 39 years? And why allow it to happen when we are heading for an election which is going to be a national challenge, where some of us have been pleading for dialogue so that there is calm, because the country is angry. The country many people feel they have been left out of whatever is happening in this country. And I can tell you that even hatred is now part of the Ugandan society. We cannot afford that, Mr. President. And we cannot afford to go back. Because when we go back, there will be no Uganda. I can guarantee you that. This country will break, and when it breaks, it will break forever. We cannot afford to go back to that period again. So, please, do something about
Professor.
Also, I've never talked to General MUHOOZI, but let me take this opportunity to talk. Yes.
Yes. You can go on. You can make your statement. It looks like I cut you along the way.
Yes. Yes. And I'm saying I've never. Yes, I have never spoken to General MUHOOZI, but I'm telling him that the stance he has taken, yes, you may have had a good reason for issuing the statements you made, but the impact on our society is adverse. The impact on the legacy of your father is adverse. The potential impact on the coming elections is too dangerous. For the sake of this country and for the sake of the legacy of your father, calm down. If you cannot do more than that, write to Parliament and say, I'm sorry, let us stop this here, it will not happen again. If you do that, and we hear that you did it, we would even urge Parliament to accept your apology and end the matter.
I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. I would have asked another question, but Professor, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for that insightful discussion we've had with you. And like I said, we are aware there is something going on between Parliament and the side of General MUHOOZI Kainerugaba. I'm sure they may reach an agreement and settle this for all. Thank you so much, our viewers, and that is it from Professor Maurice Ogenga Latigo, former Member of Parliament for Agago County, but also former leader of opposition in Parliament. We can only wait until when we return next week. We tell you that on Sunday we have a Thanksgiving, a mega Thanksgiving at Canaland, and House of Prayer Ministries International will be, of course, celebrating 14 years of service. Amazing, it's amazing. Let's be there. From here we are going into Emisinji with Pastor Rosa Sibujingo, and you don't need to miss it. My name is Mr. Apollo. Let's catch up again next Friday in another edition of The Limelight. God bless you. God bless Uganda.